When a woman knows she's lost you, her silence says what words can't. She becomes distant, cold, and guarded, not from hate, but regret. Pride masks her pain, pretending strength while her soul mourns your absence. Only then she realizes your value, but the moment to heal has already passed. When a woman realizes she's lost you, the first thing that changes is not her words, it's her energy. You feel it before you even understand it. The warmth that once made you feel seen begins to fade. The tone of her voice softens into something unfamiliar, and her laughter, once effortless, becomes selective. She doesn't argue as much, not because she's at peace, but because she's detached. Her silence speaks volumes now. It's no longer the silence that waits for understanding. It's the silence that's already decided to leave. This shift in energy is subtle at first. She may still smile, still talk, still show up, but something behind her eyes is gone. It's the light that used to burn when she believed the connection was still alive. You notice the difference in how she listens. Before, she used to hang on to every word, wanting to understand your world. Now, she listens just enough to respond. Her heart is no longer in the conversation, and her attention drifts toward her own healing. It's not revenge, it's not punishment, it's realization. When a woman feels she's lost you, her energy retreats as a way to protect herself. It's not that she stops caring overnight, she stops investing in a place where she no longer feels safe. You might think she's being cold, but in truth, she's gathering her strength. Her heart begins to rebuild the walls she once took down for you. She's learning how to exist without depending on your validation, your presence, your approval. That's when you feel the distance most. Not because she's absent, but because she's reclaiming what she gave away too freely. There's a quiet dignity in that withdrawal. She doesn't announce it, she doesn't explain it, she simply becomes less available. Her responses shorten, her laughter fades, and even her kindness shifts tone. It's not bitterness, it's boundaries. She's teaching herself that love should never come at the cost of self-respect. And while you may still be standing in the same room, emotionally, she's already miles away. This is the phase where many men mistake detachment for disinterest, but it's more than that. It's transformation. It's the moment a woman starts seeing things clearly, without the blur of emotion. She begins to see who you are, not who she hoped you would be. That clarity hurts, but it also frees her, because the energy that once chased connection now seeks peace. You'll feel her energy pulling away long before she physically leaves. The way she looks at you changes. The tenderness turns into observation, the affection into acceptance. She's no longer trying to fix it. She's trying to understand how to let it go. And once she truly accepts that she's lost you, she no longer resists the loss. She lets the silence become her closure. That's the real shift, when love no longer feels like a fight, but a memory she's finally ready to release. When a woman realizes she's losing someone she once poured her soul into, detachment becomes her final act of control. It's not cruelty, it's survival. She learns to detach not because she stopped caring, but because caring began to cost her too much. You see it in the way she stops explaining herself, stops defending her emotions, and stops waiting for you to notice what she's been silently trying to say. Her energy no longer flows toward you, it flows inward, back to the parts of herself she neglected while trying to hold the connection together. Detachment for her is not instant. It's a slow unraveling. It begins the moment she realizes her words no longer reach you, when her efforts are met with indifference and her emotions are dismissed as too much. So she starts to protect her peace by withdrawing her reactions. The woman who once felt everything deeply begins to master the art of emotional distance. She still feels, but she hides it behind calmness that confuses you. The same fire that once fueled her love now fuels her restraint. She's not trying to make you chase her. She's trying to find herself again. Control through detachment is the quiet rebellion of a heart that has loved beyond reason. When she detaches, she's taking back her emotional power, the same power she gave freely when she believed the connection was mutual. She no longer seeks validation in your attention. She no longer checks if you notice her absence. Her silence becomes her statement. Her composure becomes her armor, because now she understands that the more she reacts, the more control she loses. And so she learns to let go, not in anger, but in awareness. This stage can be deceptive. To the outside world, she looks fine, smiling, working, socializing, but beneath that calm exterior is a woman retraining her heart to beat for herself again. Detachment gives her a sense of order in the emotional chaos. It allows her to breathe without needing someone else's oxygen. And though it may look like she's cold or emotionless, what she's really doing is rebuilding her emotional boundaries. She's teaching herself that love should not mean losing oneself in the process. For many women, detachment is their quiet way of saying, I've had enough. It's not an announcement, it's a shift. She no longer argues, no longer seeks to prove her worth, no longer hopes for change. Because once she sees that her effort has become invisible, she stops giving it. The woman who once showed her heart now shows her strength. That's the paradox. She appears emotionless at the very moment she's feeling everything the most. But this time, the emotion doesn't control her. She controls it. And that's the power of detachment. It's not about winning or losing. It's about reclaiming balance. It's about no longer letting her emotions be dictated by someone who couldn't value them. When she detaches, she's not running away. She's rising quietly, gracefully, powerfully. When a woman realizes she's lost you, she begins to perform what can only be described as an emotional audit. It's not intentional at first, it's instinctive. Her mind starts replaying every conversation, every argument, every moment of silence. She rewinds the story of your connection, not to find fault, but to understand how it all fell apart. This audit is her way of making sense of what she once believed was unshakable. It's the stage where she begins to reevaluate her memories, not through love's illusion, but through the clarity that pain brings. She starts to remember things differently now. What once seemed romantic may now feel manipulative. What once felt like compromise now feels like self-abandonment. Every time she replayed the moments you didn't notice her pain, every time she silenced her needs to keep the peace, those memories resurface with a new perspective. It's not that she's trying to blame you entirely. She's trying to see herself clearly. She's trying to understand where she gave too much and where she lost her boundaries. Because once a woman has lost you, her focus quietly shifts from us to me. During this emotional audit, she begins rewriting the narrative in her mind. To protect her heart, she starts telling herself that maybe losing you was necessary for her growth, that maybe the version of her who loved you needed to end so that she could finally love herself better. And though this reflection brings pain, it also brings freedom, because for the first time, she's no longer living in the illusion of what could have been. She's facing what was. This honesty hurts, but it also heals. In these moments of deep reflection, her emotions fluctuate. Some days she misses you intensely. Other days she questions why she ever tolerated certain things. The audit is not clean or quick. It's messy and raw. It forces her to confront her own patterns, her emotional triggers, and her fears of abandonment. It's the emotional equivalent of looking into a mirror and seeing herself stripped of denial. And though it may seem like she's dwelling in the past, what she's really doing is collecting the lessons she needs to move forward. The emotional audit is also her silent preparation for closure. She's reviewing the past not to rekindle it, but to make peace with it. She examines every emotion like evidence, not to assign guilt, but to reclaim understanding. This process teaches her discernment, how to love without losing herself, how to give without depleting her energy, and how to recognize when love turns into attachment. When she's done with her audit, she doesn't announce it. She just stops needing explanations. She no longer searches for closure in your words because she's already found it in her awareness. That's when her energy shifts from grief to acceptance. The emotional audit may break her temporarily, but it's the very process that rebuilds her into someone wiser, calmer, and far more conscious of her worth. When a woman knows she's lost you, there's still a part of her that wonders if you feel it too. Even when she's decided to detach, a quiet part of her heart tests the waters, not out of manipulation, but from a lingering hope that maybe the connection isn't completely gone. This is the stage where she starts testing your reaction, not always consciously, but through subtle gestures that reveal what words cannot. A message sent at an unexpected hour, a post meant to trigger a memory, a silence designed to see if you'll notice. These are her unspoken ways of asking, "Do I still matter?" She's not looking for grand gestures or desperate apologies. What she wants to see is emotional awareness. She wants to know if you still sense her energy, if you still understand her language without words. But when those tests go unanswered, she takes the silence as confirmation that the connection truly has faded. It's not the lack of messages that hurts her. It's the realization that you didn't even notice her absence. That's the kind of pain that doesn't scream. It sinks quietly into her soul and begins to reshape her feelings. During this phase, she oscillates between wanting to stay strong and wanting to be seen. One moment, she convinces herself she's over it. The next, she finds herself scrolling through memories just to see if anything still feels the same. These emotional tests aren't always deliberate. Sometimes they're her subconscious seeking reassurance that what she gave wasn't meaningless. When she reaches out indirectly, through humor, nostalgia, or even indifference, she's measuring your emotional temperature. She's not seeking control. She's searching for closure in the form of your reaction. But when your response is distant or indifferent, she begins to understand something vital. Her peace can't depend on your attention anymore. Each time she doesn't get the response she hoped for, she grows a little stronger. She starts to detach, not from love, but from expectation. That's how she regains control, by realizing she no longer needs validation to know her worth. The silence that once hurt her becomes the silence that heals her. Still, testing your reaction isn't always about wanting you back. It's often about confirming her intuition. Women have a deep emotional intelligence. They feel shifts long before they're spoken. So when she tests your reaction, she's really testing the truth. She wants to know if the bond she once felt was ever real. Your response, or lack of it, tells her everything she needs to know. And once she has her answer, she doesn't chase, argue, or plead. She simply accepts it. Because by the time a woman stops testing your reaction, it means she no longer needs one. She's made peace with the outcome. Her silence becomes final, not as punishment, but as closure. The same heart that once fought to stay now finally understands that sometimes peace comes when you stop waiting for a response that will never arrive. When a woman realizes she's lost you, a silent war begins within her, a battle between her ego and her emotions. The emotion still feels the ache of your absence, the memories, the unspoken words, the unfinished connection. But the ego steps in like armor, whispering, "Don't let him see your pain." What follows is not indifference, but a carefully constructed mask of strength. Her heart still trembles underneath, yet her pride stands tall, refusing to let the vulnerability show. It's not that she doesn't care, it's that caring now feels dangerous. The ego wants to win, the emotion wants to heal. The ego tells her to block you, ignore you, move on faster than she's ready to. The emotion, however, lingers in the quiet hours, remembering the sound of your voice, the safety of your presence, the way you once understood her. She scrolls through old messages, pretending it's just curiosity, but it's her heart seeking reassurance that it wasn't all one-sided. Yet every time emotion rises, ego suppresses it with logic. You deserve better, it says, don't look back. And though those words sound empowering, they often come from pain, not peace. In this battle, she learns how to balance strength with sensitivity. Her ego protects her from humiliation, from chasing what's already gone, but her emotion keeps her human. It reminds her that love, no matter how it ends, still mattered. There's a certain sadness in this conflict because both sides are right. The ego wants her to survive. The emotion wants her to understand. And in between the two, she rebuilds herself piece by piece, learning when to feel and when to let go. Sometimes her ego wins and she convinces herself she's over you. She posts pictures that say she's happy, that she's free, that she's glowing without you. But in moments of stillness, emotion returns with its quiet truth. She's not angry, just hurt. She's not cold, just guarding the warmth she once gave you. Ego can silence emotion for a while, but it can't erase what was felt deeply. That's why even when she looks composed, her heart still trembles when your name appears. Eventually, the ego begins to soften. As time passes, she realizes that strength isn't in pretending she never cared. It's in acknowledging that she did and still choosing to move forward. Her emotion teaches her compassion. Her ego teaches her boundaries. Together, they help her rise. She learns that loving someone doesn't mean losing herself, and letting go doesn't mean she never cared. This inner conflict is the quiet transformation every woman goes through after loss. The ego keeps her from returning to what hurt her, while the emotion ensures she never forgets what she learned. When she finally makes peace between the two, she doesn't need to prove anything. She just becomes softer, wiser, stronger, and at last, free. When a woman realizes she has lost you, the absence begins to reflect itself back to her in ways she could not have anticipated. At first, she notices it in the little things: the empty space beside her, the quiet moments she once filled with your presence, the routines that now feel hollow without your energy. What she once took for granted suddenly becomes a mirror, showing her not just what she has lost, but what she allowed herself to lose along the way. Your absence is no longer just a physical void. It becomes an emotional one, a reflection of the connection that shaped her life. The reflection of absence is subtle yet profound. She starts to notice the moments when she reached for you and found nothing. The messages she didn't receive, the calls left unanswered, the times she needed support and met silence instead. All of it comes back to her in clarity. This reflection is not meant to punish her. It is meant to teach. It shows her the value of presence, consistency, and genuine attention. Every memory that resurfaces now carries a weight she did not feel before, and every interaction she recalls becomes evidence of the depth of what she had and can no longer touch. In this phase, she begins to see the truth of her own heart. The absence of your energy forces her to confront the illusions she may have held. She remembers the warmth, the laughter, and the safety she once felt, and she contrasts it with the void that remains. It is in this contrast that understanding grows. She realizes that what she is missing is not just a person, but the energy, authenticity, and connection that person brought into her life. The reflection of absence reveals what she failed to protect, what she allowed to slip through her fingers, and what she must learn to honor in the future. This reflection is not always comfortable. It brings waves of longing, regret, and sorrow. She may find herself questioning decisions, wondering if things could have been different or if she should have acted sooner. But these feelings are not signs of weakness. They are signs of awareness. The absence teaches her lessons she could not have learned while the connection was alive. It shows her the value of emotional investment and the cost of taking love for granted. Through this reflective process, she begins to reconstruct her understanding of herself and the relationship. She learns that absence is not just loss, it is a teacher, a mirror that shows her both her own strength and the depth of what she cherished. It encourages her to become more conscious of how she gives and receives love. Over time, the reflection of absence becomes less painful and more instructive. She no longer simply mourns what is gone. She honors it by learning from it, growing from it, and carrying its lessons into every connection she cultivates thereafter. By facing the reflection of absence, a woman discovers the power of clarity, the wisdom of boundaries, and the strength that emerges when she finally acknowledges what she has truly lost. It is a silent, transformative process, one that reshapes her heart, sharpens her intuition, and prepares her for a love that respects both her presence and her worth. When a woman realizes she has lost you, there is often an instinctive urge to fill the emptiness that your absence leaves behind. She may seek distractions, new connections, or temporary attention, believing that replacing what was lost will ease the pain. At first glance, it may seem as though she's moving on quickly, but what she's really doing is attempting to mask the void, not heal it. The illusion of replacement is seductive because it gives the appearance of progress, yet underneath, her heart is still tethered to what she truly valued. She might surround herself with new people, dive into social engagements, or seek the thrill of attention from someone else. On the surface, it looks like she's thriving, moving forward, or even enjoying the freedom of life without you. But this external activity is not true replacement. It is a temporary veil that shields her from confronting the depth of the loss. Each new interaction or distraction is measured against the energy she once shared with you, and though she may not admit it, no substitute can mirror the authenticity and connection that was lost. The illusion of replacement is powerful because it convinces her that she can bypass the pain. She may convince herself that these new experiences are enough to heal, that the absence can be ignored, or that moving on is simply a matter of time and attention. Yet, deep inside, she knows that her attempts are hollow. No matter how engaging a new person or experience may be, it cannot replace the emotional resonance, the comfort, and the understanding that you once brought into her life. This realization often comes slowly as she notices the lingering emptiness that no distraction can fill. Through this process, she begins to understand that healing cannot come from replacing what was lost. It comes from facing it. The illusion of replacement teaches her the difference between superficial satisfaction and genuine emotional fulfillment. She learns that it's not about finding someone new to fill the space. It's about honoring what she had, understanding why it mattered, and reclaiming the parts of herself that were lost in the process. Replacement only scratches the surface. True healing demands introspection, acceptance, and self-awareness. Eventually, the illusion fades. The distractions no longer hold the same allure, and she starts to see that no external source can replicate the bond she had. It is at this moment that true growth begins. She stops chasing substitutes and starts seeking understanding, self-respect, and emotional alignment. She realizes that the absence she once tried to mask is actually a teacher, showing her where she invested too much, where she neglected herself, and what she must protect in the future. In confronting the illusion of replacement, she discovers the importance of authenticity, presence, and self-worth. The emptiness left by your absence is no longer something to escape. It becomes a guide, leading her toward emotional clarity, deeper understanding, and a stronger connection with herself. Only when she lets go of the idea of replacement can she truly honor the love she experienced, learn from it, and prepare herself for the depth of connection she deserves. When a woman realizes she has lost you, there comes a moment when the lesson lands. It is not immediate, it cannot be forced or rushed. It arrives quietly, almost imperceptibly, through the stillness that follows the chaos of absence. She begins to feel the weight of what was lost, not just your presence, but the energy, the consistency, and the connection that gave her a sense of security and belonging. In that moment, she understands that losing you was never just about losing a person. It was about losing a space where she could be fully seen, fully accepted, and fully herself. The lesson lands through reflection. She replays moments in her mind with clarity she did not have before. The memories that once felt trivial now reveal their true significance. The late night conversations, the small gestures, the unspoken understanding, all of it resurfaces with a new weight. She realizes that what she once took for granted was rare, and what she dismissed as ordinary was, in fact, extraordinary. This clarity can be painful, but it is necessary. It forces her to confront the truth that she cannot replace what was genuine with anything superficial. She also learns through absence itself. The quiet spaces where you once were become mirrors of her own heart. She feels the void and recognizes that it is not just emptiness. It is a reflection of what she valued most. No distraction, no attention from others, no temporary comfort can fill it. The lesson teaches her that some connections are irreplaceable and some energy is too rare to ignore. She begins to understand that love is not measured by presence alone, but by consistency, understanding, and alignment. As the lesson lands, she confronts her own role in the loss. She sees where she may have given too much without receiving, where she may have overlooked boundaries, and where pride or fear prevented her from appreciating what was right in front of her. This self-awareness is not about blame, it is about understanding. She begins to recognize patterns, learn from them, and prepare herself to engage differently in the future. The absence of what she lost becomes a teacher, showing her how to honor herself and others in the connections to come. The emotional impact of this lesson is subtle yet profound. She experiences regret, yes, but it is accompanied by wisdom. She learns that pain is not punishment, it is guidance. Losing you forces her to see the value of what she once had and to acknowledge the depth of her feelings. It teaches her to appreciate presence, energy, and authenticity in ways she may not have before. And when the lesson fully lands, she no longer chases what cannot be reclaimed. She accepts it, honors it, and lets it transform her. Finally, the lesson shapes her future. She emerges stronger, wiser, and more conscious of the energy she allows into her life. She understands that loss is not the end. It is a teacher that opens her eyes to clarity, self-respect, and growth. When the lesson lands, she is no longer defined by the absence, but by the awareness it brings. She carries it forward, not as a burden, but as a guide, preparing her for connections that are deeper, more authentic, and aligned with her true worth. In the journey of loss, a woman experiences a transformation that is quiet yet profound. From the subtle shift in energy to the trials of detachment, from the reflection of absence to the illusions of replacement, each stage teaches her about love, boundaries, and self-worth. She tests, questions, mourns, and ultimately learns that losing someone is never merely about absence. It is about clarity, growth, and reclaiming herself. By the time the lesson lands, she has discovered strength in stillness, wisdom in reflection, and freedom in acceptance. She emerges not broken, but awakened, carrying the understanding that love is meant to honor both the heart and the self.